I think I remember the conversation where they told us at the dinner table, because I remember my mum getting out a piece of paper and explaining to us how the whole gene thing worked with. So she drew two sort of stick figures. One was mum, one was dad, and mum had one bad leg that she coloured in black, and dad had one bad leg that she coloured in black for him.
Yeah.
And then she was like, when a baby is born, you can have either of both of these from both parents. And you guys, all three of you, got both of the black
Bad
genes.
parents, yeah,
And so
yeah.
now you've got muscular dystrophy.
I'm Cerys, and I was diagnosed with limb-girdle muscular dystrophy 2i at 7 years old. LGMD is a muscle wasting condition, so it essentially means that your muscles will get weaker over time as you get older. Hello everyone, welcome back to Unbalanced with me, Cerys. I hope you're all doing well. I've had a crazy couple of weeks, but I'm so excited to just sit down and talk to you guys and kind of introduce myself to you a bit. I have a lot to dive into, so make sure that you've got a cup of coffee and you're sat down and you're making yourself coffee. It's really nice that my sisters and I have each other, and I think having the LGMD has kind of created an extra bond between us, because we can share experiences, we can help each other out, and we just know what we're going through. To interview them for my podcast. I think there needs to be more understanding about this condition, which is one of the reasons why I started this podcast called Unbalanced. Not only did I want a kind of vocal diary, but also I wanted to educate other people about how disabilities like LGMD affect young people like me. My podcast hopefully helps people feel like they're not alone in what they're going through, and that there is someone out there that understands. It's difficult not knowing what my future will look like with this condition, just because I don't know how fast my condition will progress. I don't know what state I'll be in at any point in the future. So I try to live day to day, because there are certain things I can do now that I might not be able to do in the future, and there are certain things I can't do anymore that I used to be able to do. So that's always kind of an internal battle in my mind, but I try not to think about that too much, because that's just a negative way of thinking. And a good way to live life is to just focus on what you can do and focus on the positives and any good outcome that comes from this condition. As I got older, I've experienced more and more symptoms up till now, so I can definitely see the progression in my condition as I get older. I can see how it's getting worse and how my muscles are getting weaker. I played the harp a lot growing up, and the piano. I used to practice every day after school, but I think over time my stamina with being able to play has just decreased a lot, because with the harp I need to keep my arms up, and to keep them up for so long and to do such intricate finger work, I can't do it for as long as I was able to do. I can still play a little bit, but maybe not for a very long time and every single day. But I need to be realistic about how often I do that, because I just can't keep up with it anymore.
Cerys, Cadi and Beca have exactly the same diagnosis, but their symptoms couldn't be more different. Cerys's was obvious from the beginning. Her legs became weaker. And then climbing the stairs became more and more difficult. She'd also have a weak leg, so that's what she calls it, and one of her legs would collapse from under her and she'd fall like a sack of potatoes. Cadi, she would push herself too much. She would feel pain in her muscles, and that was just a symptom of muscles leaking protein into the bloodstream. So she just gets pains after a long, busy day. And Beca gets tired, so she knows she's been growing up observing how LGMD has affected her sisters, and I think she's more aware of what limitations can be placed upon her. So she just gets tired and knows not to push herself too much.
My role as a mother has been interesting. I suppose as any parent, as your children grow, you would expect them to become more and more independent and you to become less involved. And that's just a natural process. I think it's been slightly different for us because as they have grown in maturity, they've become slightly less able physically. And so that's an interesting balance for us to know how much do they still need us to help them, when do we need to step in, when do we need them to really almost struggle but learn to do things on their own, or for other people to help them. That can be difficult as well because, as a mother, you want to be the first person that they turn to, but actually they're older now, and they have friends and they have other people in their lives, that can do that role for them as well. So it's just a letting go, isn't it? Like any parent has to do.
And I'm just immensely proud of all of them, and they carry their disability with humour and dignity, and just sheer resilience and stubbornness, which is great. So they're all musical. Cerys and Beca play the harp, Cadi plays the flute, and they all play the piano. And obviously they couldn't actually carry a 5-foot, 6-foot harp themselves into the back of the car. So I was the dad, the taxi driver, the roadie for the family band. So it was supporting them as much as we could with whatever they wanted to do until they came to the realization that, okay, I think it's time to stop.
I feel like for me, one of the ways that I cope with knowing that it's going to get worse is sort of humour it a little bit. Yeah, so I feel like my friends sort of joke around about the fact that I'm a little bit disabled, but of course they won't do it if I wasn't happy with it, and I've let them know that it's fine and it's funny. But it's just, I guess it's just a way to sort of make it not as depressing as it can be. Because sometimes I do have those moments where I do get a little bit annoyed, like if it's severely affecting me in the moment and I'm I don't feel like this is a joke, then I will feel truly about it. I think one of the big downsides is sort of losing my independence, and I feel like you lose a lot of humility when you use independence, because a lot of dignity as well, because I like to be able to know that I can do things by myself. I'd love to live by myself at some point, and being able to exercise my independence as much as I can, but then knowing that I actually might not be able to do that in the future, and I might need somebody to live with who can support me if there's something I come across that I can't do, or as my condition gets worse.
It is hard to have to stop doing stuff that we do enjoy. Like, there are some pieces on the piano I can't really play anymore, or I know I can only play once and I can't practice them as well because like it's so like exhausting on the hands. Or before I had my adapted flute, that was really, really painful, and I have a really bad habit of pushing through the pain, which is not the best practice, and it's getting to the point where I have to stop doing things I enjoy in order to not be in pain.
I'm quite glad that music is sort of one of our main hobbies, and that doesn't take much like physicality. But the piano, I really hope I'm not going to have to give that up or be limited to play it at all, because I really love it. I feel like as we get older, we'll definitely find things that replace the things that we used to do, but in a way that we're more able to complete them. Yeah.
Alternative is just to be sad all the time. That's exhausting. So
Yeah.
I take time to mourn the skills I've lost, but then try to find other things, as you said. Yeah.
Thank you, Father, for seeing us together, for this food, for this wonderful day, and for this opportunity to eat and give thanks to you.
Amen. Right, this is the...
We fought all the time as kids.
Yeah.
Like, especially me and Cerys.
I think that's something everybody can relate to.
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%.
Yeah.
We now like value how much time we spend together a lot more, especially since Cerys has moved out and I'm now in college.
Yeah, we're all sort of separate now, so it's like when we live together, you know, it gets a bit chaotic and we all get fed up of each other after a while. And then now that we all live separately, when we see each other now, it's a lot more sort of peaceful, and we just have a catch up
And
yeah, we're not together for long enough now for us to get annoyed at each other.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah. I think one thing that's quite worrying about telling people that we meet in the future is like, I feel like it could be quite difficult potentially with dating, because we talked to a few people in the conference who'd had people break up with them because of the condition. Not in a like, oh, you have muscular dystrophy,
okay,
by
fine. I don't
kind
want
of
to be with
way.
you anymore.
But
It's
it was
more-
kind
yeah.
of like, you know, your partner has to consider whether they can see themselves in your future looking after you, doing things for you, pushing you around in a wheelchair.
Yeah, exactly. It will.
So it's kind of a big impact.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to try and think of like, well, when is the right time to tell someone
Yeah.
that I have muscular dystrophy, to not scare them away, but also not be like too late.
What a throwback. I know, right? Oh my gosh,
I hope that I sort of, as I said before, find a good balance between, but in a different way, sort of knowing how able I am at every point in time and not push myself, but also surrounding myself with, you know, a community of people who are very supportive and know if I'm pushing myself and tell me to stop or whatever.
And I want to find a job and hopefully find a relationship as well, or a person or a family who is willing to also be my carer far down the line when I can't do things.
Yeah. Like we need that support, but you don't want to ask too much of anybody. And
Yeah, but like it's that point that we will eventually reach, is when we can't do the more basic stuff ourselves and we actually do need help. And if we are in a long-term relationship, then it's kind of like a package deal that they also have to be our carer as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a lot to ask.
Yeah.